And the House is back in session. These are the House cameras.
The chair appreciates that members will differ on matters of policy and will seek to express those differences. But the chair would hope that the business of the House could be conducted in a fashion that respects positively on the dignity and the decorum of this institution to which we all belong. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Ryder, seek recognition? Pursuant to the order of the House of June 8, 2016, the unfinished business is further consideration of the veto message of the President on House Joint Resolution 88. The clerk will report the title of the joint resolution.
House Joint Resolution 88, Joint Resolution disapproving the rules submitted by the Department of Labor relating to the definition of the term fiduciary.
The question is, House on reconsideration passed the joint resolution. The objections of the President to the contrary notwithstanding, the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Klein, is recognized for 1 hour.
Thank you, America. Protect access to affordable retirement by voting to override the President's veto. I yield back to balance my time, and I move the previous question.
The gentleman from Minnesota yields back. The question is on ordering the previous question. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Gentleman from Minnesota. A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. Clause 9 of Rule 20. This 15-minute vote on ordering the previous question will be followed by a 5-minute vote on passing the joint resolution. The objectives of the President to the contrary notwithstanding, this is a 15-minute vote.
And what they're voting on now is unrelated to the House Democrats sit-in that has been occurring. Speaker Ryan is establishing or attempting to establish regular order. You heard all the noise. You know what's going on. We're going to continue to take your phone calls about the Democratic House sit-in. Adam's in Plainfield, Indiana, on our Republican line. Adam, go ahead.
Yes, I was calling because I think the Democrats and what they're doing is a complete and total joke. Many of these Democrats who were members of Congress back in 2009 to 2011 when the Democrats controlled the House, had a supermajority in the Senate, and also had the presidency, never once brought up a gun control bill when they could have very easily passed it. So Speaker Ryan needs to get control of the House, and this is nothing more than political grandstanding by the Democratic Party.
Zachary, right here in Washington, D.C., Democrat. Zachary, you're on C-SPAN.
Yes, I mean, I live in the D.C. area for several years now, and we currently don't have any representation, and it's good to see our fellow Democrats standing by us and going on the floor and, to be honest, doing what needed to be done for quite some time now. I mean, this doesn't happen in any other country where you have people getting killed in mass shootings almost on a daily basis. This doesn't happen in other parts of the world, and I think mainly it has to do with having military assault rifles in the hands of civilians that, to be honest, aren't meant for civilians. They're meant for the military. So I applaud the Democrats for standing up for a peaceful sit-in on the House floor currently. I hope they stay there and continue to do what they're doing because something needs to be done. You know, you can't have, children in Sandy Hook or San Bernardino or even with the Orlando shootings. It's shameful. These shootings can be prevented. They can have universal background checks. They can have mental health checks. They can have assault rifle bans, which a majority of Americans are for. But yet the NRA is in the pocket of so many Republican congressmen. It's really a shame. And I really hope that the Democrats stand their ground and really don't give up on this.
That was Zachary in Washington, D.C. Now, what is on your screen? These are the House chamber cameras. These are controlled by the House and the majority party since 1979, when Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House. And C-SPAN does not own nor control those cameras. So what you're watching now is the House feed. If they go out of session again and the Periscope feed comes back from the House Democrats sit-in, we will bring that to you as well. Ryan is in Davidsonville.
Legislating by tantrum.
Ryan in Davidsonville, Maryland, Democrat.
Patrick, that's you.
Ryan, you with us?
Me.
We're going to go ahead and move on to Kaylee in Elk Grove, California, Republican. Kaylee, you're on C-SPAN. What's your viewpoint?
I'm a Republican and a proud gun owner. This is common sense. I demand a vote. Terrorists should not be able to get guns. Criminals should not be able to avoid background checks. It's that simple. Thank you.
That was Kaylee in Elk Grove, California. According to the Census Bureau, I think it's a 33%, about 1/3 of American households currently own guns. July is in Missoula, Montana. Hi, July.
Hi, I am a Republican and a registered gun owner. I am for, if you're on the no-fly or the suspected terrorist list, that yes, you should not be able to have a gun or a weapon access of any kind. The problem I have with this sit-in is if you're determined to commit chaos, mass murder of any kind, Boston, 9/11, San Bernardino, criminals will find a way to get these guns. And what I'm afraid of is victims like me, survivors of rape, hellacious beatings, any type of victim out there where we could have used protection and the police weren't there fast enough or around, a gun will save our lives. We will be able to defend ourselves and our families. I think that this is grandstanding. I think that they don't care about the average Joe citizen being able to be protected because they're not touched personally, daily, by the stuff that goes on that we have to deal with as average citizens. I think what they're doing is for show. I think it's pompous, and I think it's selfish.
July, do you carry regularly?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever had to use it?
Yes, I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Patrick, Quinlan, Texas, on our independent line. Patrick, have you been watching today, and what's your viewpoint of the sit-in and the protest?
Yes, I have been watching. I'm pretty disgusted about it. I think at this point, this sit-in should be an unlawful act. This is a political coup, and they should be arrested for trespassing. I'm a full believer of freedom of speech when their speech is there are 2 or 3 minutes on the House floor in regular session, but not to take over the event. This is trespassing. This is the people's house, not the politicians' house. They should be arrested, and Speaker Ryan should have them all arrested at this point.
Patrick in Quinlan, Texas. Up next, so we continue to hear your viewpoints while the House votes on unrelated legislation. Henry in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, Democrats line. Hi, Henry.
How you doing?
How are you?
All right.
We're listening, Henry. What's your viewpoint about today?
Well, I cannot understand this when you say that we are the United States of America. To me, that includes the whole country. And I believe in the Second Amendment that everybody should have guns. But what I don't understand is that everybody think that the government gonna take all your guns away from you. I can't understand that. I mean, you know, you got the right to have the bear arms and everything, but the whole thing is blown out of proportion when we gonna take your guns. I can't understand that.
Henry, are you a gun owner?
I own one gun.
Do you agree with what the Democrats are saying on the House floor?
Yes. totally.
Why?
Because what they trying to explain, all the killing going on and everything like that, and you know, you have where I'm from, you know, you got felons with guns that have more than a senior citizen, a person like that. And you know, I don't understand it. You know, everything is, you gonna take my gun, you gonna take my guns. I mean, you know, come on, you know.
Thank you, sir. Now, the House just came back into session a few minutes ago. They came in this morning at 10 o'clock and went out, and at 11:25 the Democratic sit-in began. It's now 10:14 out here on the East Coast. And you can see the Democrats still in a group there right on the floor underneath where it says HJ Res 88. Those are the Democrats on their side of the aisle, and they're taking this vote on unrelated matters. It's on the president's fiduciary policies. Next call is Rob in Clearfield, Utah. Rob is a Republican.
Hello, how are you doing?
How are you?
I think I have a unique view. I'm a gun owner, but I'm also prior military, and I'm a first responder. And I don't understand where people feel there should be common sense legislation that when me and my fellow officers go into a situation that the offender is armed with the same MP4 that I have. You know, they have the same military grade weapon that I'm trying to protect and serve with. You know, if you've committed domestic violence or if you have a felony, then you lose certain rights. And to me, it's common sense that if somebody walks out of my jail and can walk right into a gun show and then 30 minutes later face me and my fellow officers, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I think something, I don't know if the Democrats can really pull this off, something has got to be done.
Rob, two questions. Are you, what do you think about concealed carry?
I like the concealed carry, and I think if you're, you know, you go to the class and you can handle your weapon, I'm all for that.
What about the NRA? Are you a member? Do you have a viewpoint on that?
I was a member of the NRA, but I can't follow them where they're going. I mean, if you're going to protect the rights of terrorists, you're on a watch list, and you're going to give that guy... See, these guys don't have to face the criminals like I do. They don't have to face them, you know, and they think, well, a good guy with a gun, well, yeah, but it's the same kind of firepower, and it doesn't make sense to me. As law enforcement, it does not make sense.
That's Rob in Clearfield, Utah. Up next is Linda, and Linda is in San Diego, Independent Line. Hi, Linda.
Good evening, and thanks for taking my call. As a background, my father was the vice president of a gun manufacturing company for the better part of his career. I'm a former emergency room nurse. I'm an independent, but I'm probably left-leaning. And I believe fundamentally the right to live supersedes any right to carry. I think people should be able to go to school, church, the mall, the movie theater, and come out and not be shot. I've been watching this unfold all day, and I have to tell you, it's the first time I feel really engaged in politics in a long time. It's the first real display by politicians about an epidemic that's gripping America.
Linda, did you grow up around guns, given what you said about your father?
We had a gun in the household, but my dad did not hunt. I hunted once. I don't have a fear of guns, but I have no tolerance for the gun violence epidemic we're experiencing. I believe in the right to bear arms, but I don't think the Scalia interpretation of the Second Amendment is reflective of what was the intention of the amendment.
Did you have you ever considered getting your own gun?
I live alone, and I thought about it for some time. And ultimately, I decided it would be hypocritical of me to be fighting for gun control and at the same time purchasing a weapon for my own protection.
Thank you, ma'am. As you can see, the Democratic Periscope feed is back up, even though the House cameras are on. The House cameras are up in the upper right, and down in the lower left is a Periscope feed by, could be a couple of different members. Beto O'Rourke, who is a Democrat from Texas. The other feed that we've been watching is Congressman Peters from San Diego. Now we're going to continue to take your calls while the House is voting on this unrelated legislation. Chris in Houston, Democrat. Hi, Chris.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. This is making for some really exciting TV, huh?
You're enjoying it? Or are you intrigued by it? I shouldn't say enjoy, but...
Yeah, it's really neat to get to watch something like this.
What's appealing to you?
Well, I'm just really enjoying the fact that after so long, I've always been in favor of stronger regulation to prevent gun violence. And so to finally see Democrats take a stand and say, we understand we're in the minority, but no, this absolutely has to happen because people are dying every day. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being able to see that.
Thank you, sir. What you're watching in the lower left is Beto O'Rourke, congressman from Texas. His Facebook feed is what you're seeing up there. You can see just a few seconds left in the vote. Don't know if Speaker Ryan will be calling the vote, so we might cut you off right away when that happens, because, as you know, C-SPAN is gavel to gavel with the House. Joe in Las Vegas, Nevada, Republican line. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi. This is awesome. I get to talk to so many people and get my point across. I am a gun owner, collector. I cannot go on the internet right now and buy a gun without a background check. If somebody can show me how to do that, I would love to see it. You can't do it. Also, I've never been to a gun show where you don't have to get a background check to buy a gun. They have background checks there. So I don't know where everybody gets off saying that you can buy a gun on the internet or at a gun show without a background check because you have to get one.
How?
Myself? Go on.
I just want to ask, how quickly can you buy a gun in Nevada?
Well, I have a concealed carry permit.
We're going to have to cut you right there, Joe. Joe, hang on.
Previous question is ordered. The question is, will the House, on reconsideration, pass the joint resolution, the objections of the President to the contrary notwithstanding? Under the Constitution, the vote must be by the yeas and nays. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
And as you can see, the House is taking a 5-minute vote. You're watching live coverage of the House on C-SPAN. And as we watch the House take this next vote, we want to go back to Joe in Las Vegas. Joe, you were talking about being a concealed carry permit holder.
Yes, I have a concealed carry permit.
And was that tough to get?
It was tough to get. I had to go to a 2-day class. Then I had to go to the police station. They ran a very thorough background check. It takes like 3 months to get it, and then you get it.
Why did you go through that effort, Joe?
Because I carry a gun every day with me to protect myself and my family. And
now, I'm just thinking about the large groups of folks visiting Las Vegas, maybe in a casino or something like that. Do you think that there are concealed carries in those buildings?
Yeah, there are concealed carries pretty much anywhere you go. Somebody's going to be carrying a gun. For the way the world is today, and with the way what happened last week. Like Donald Trump said, if some of those people had a gun, they could have stopped them.
Joe, what do you think about what the Democrats have been doing all day?
Well, it's funny. I texted my friend and said they're protesting on federal land. Shouldn't the police be removing them?
And that's Joe in Las Vegas. And in fact, according to the House rules, what they are doing, you're not allowed to broadcast the House when it is in recess, when it is not in session. So technically, they are, in a sense, breaking those rules. The media is not allowed to broadcast when they are not in session. Kernard is in Houston, Texas, on our independent line. Go ahead, Kernard. What do you think about today?
Hey, I'm a 19-year-old student here in Houston, and I believe completely in common sense gun reform. Let me tell you, I'm trying to get my license at the moment because, what teenager isn't trying to get their license? And I've been to, the BPS place here multiple times, and each time I go there, they tell me that, I'm missing some type of document. And it's just absolutely absurd that it's harder to get a driver license in this country while it's easier to get a gun in this country. And, there needs to be common sense gun reform. There needs to be mental health checks. There needs to be extensive background checks, and to make sure that guns are not in the hands of people that are crazy and that wants to do harm to other people. And I am very optimistic about the future of this country. I believe strongly that as a nation, we will begin to fix the ills that plague this country, and we will begin to, make sure that every single American in this country is taken care of, and that no one is left out, and that, safety comes first.
And that's Kernard watching in Houston, Texas. It looks like the House is about to come back into session. Chad Pergram, who's the producer on Capitol Hill for Fox, tweeted this out. The first vote is over. On to the second vote on the veto override on the labor rule. It needs 2/3 to pass. Representative Mike Simpson, a Republican from Idaho, is now in the presiding chair, and he could bring that gavel down, and when he does, we will go right to the House. Corey's in Asheville, North Carolina, independent line. Corey, what do you think about the activities today?
Well, first off, so there's something I like to dispel. I don't have any credentials, but I consider myself a fan of history, and the notion of something like the weapon that Omar Mateen used as an assault weapon, but not an assault rifle, is kind of a ridiculous recent invention in terms of NRA rhetoric. All I have to say is if the German engineer in 1939, who, when the German army was fighting the Russians, decided to cross between the machine pistol or submachine gun, which is shooting the pistol ammunition, with the long rifle in order to get something that's close range but can have a lot of stopping power. If that man rose from the grave and saw the weapon that Omar Mateen used, he would demand royalties. But then probably, hopefully, he'd get shot by a plentiful assault rifle. And,
All right, Corey, let's leave it there. Let's try to get this call in from Patrick in Grand Rapids, Michigan on our Democrats line. Patrick, go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a Democrat here in Michigan, and it's a little hard here. We've got our 2 senators are Democrats, but the majority of our House reps are Republican. And I'm a gun owner here in Michigan. I do have a concealed weapons license. And I kind of toe the line a lot with gun legislation, but this is common sense background checks. This is common sense gun legislation, and a no-fly, no-buy law just makes so much sense to me. And I've had at least 3 hours of this coverage streaming off of my own personal Facebook page. And to me, what our Democrat leaders are doing it's just so important to what democracy is in this country. They are speaking for the people. Someone earlier said that they should be thrown out because it's the people's house and not the politicians' house. Well, they are our politicians. They speak for us. We elected them, and they are doing exactly what we need them to do. One of our senators, Gary Peters, his mailbox is actually completely full. You can't even call and leave him a voicemail anymore because of so many people that are calling him and saying, be there, be there. And Senator Peters was there or I think he still is there, actually. But this bill is important, and common sense gun legislation is so important.
Thank you.
The ayes are 239, the nays are 180. 2/3 not being the affirmative, the joint resolution is rejected. The veto message and joint resolution are referred to the Committee on Education and the Workforce. The clerk will notify the Senate of the actions of the House. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the House stands in recess, subject to the call of the chair.